to go over crafting your ultimate sports betting strategy. All right, I'm going to go step by step with you guys and teach you exactly the stuff that you need to know to be able to actually put together a nice strategy that you could use every day and you could start implementing now. Now, before we get to that, I do want to explain to you guys that it is very important to have a strategy to be able to use. All right, it's very important because when I first started sports betting, a long time ago, when I first started, I didn't think of using really any type of strategies. All right, I really just went off of basically this is what I went off of. I was gut feelings. All right, I went off of like, well, this team is better than this team. They have a better record than this team. So let me bet the team with the better record. Like that. Like I would think that type of thing. And more often than not, I would end up losing. Constantly. I would end up losing because it's just that's your natural thinking. And like I always try to teach people that when you are looking at games and something looks too good to be true, it usually is, and you gravitate towards that, and you end up betting that, and then you end up losing. So, for example, a couple things that happened is like in an NBA game, for example, you'll have a road favorite, which is usually a trap bet because they're the better team, but they're on the road, and they're like -2, and you're like, this team is way better than the other team that's at home. So you go and bet that team that's on the road by -2, thinking, oh, they're gonna win, and they probably going to end up losing the game. And it happens all the time in sports betting, all the time. Early on in my career, I used to just fall for those left and right. Like I always used to sit there and think like I would go and I'd look at totals in a game and I'd be like, well, we got two high scoring teams. Why is the total set like mediocre? Why is it low? These guys should blow this out of the water. Next thing you know, not looking deeper into it, you just look at the top layer of it, you think, oh yeah, this game's going to go over. And then you bet on it and it goes under. It happens all the time. So when I was first starting out, I would get caught with this left and right because it's just, that's the way that it rolls. When it's too good to be true and it seems like that, oh, this team's better than this team or these teams are high scoring, they should score a lot of points, it usually just doesn't happen. It really doesn't. That gut feeling that you get when you feel like, oh, like there's no way this team's going to beat this team, usually wrong. And to be honest with you, you're more profitable whenever you get that feeling and you think that way, you bet the complete opposite of that. It's really, that's what it's about. It's really about that. It's like if you get that gut feeling and you feel like that this is too good to be true and you want to go and you want to bet that, well, you should obviously just go and bet the opposite because more often than not, you're going to lose when you're on that one side when you're thinking like, oh man, this play is going to win. Like this team should beat this team. You're going to lose in the long run. So you might as well go and bet the opposite because that is the way that, it changes your mind there because you're like betting the opposite of what you feel. But if you're always losing, so if you just bet the opposite of what you're always losing, obviously you're going to be on the winning side of that. All right. And I figured that out a little bit later on in my sports betting career because it's tough to think of that. So it's tough to think of it this way. If you go through, a day and you're looking at games and you got your gut feelings and stuff like that, to go opposite of that is almost like insane because you're pretty much, rewiring your brain and pretty much going on the opposite of what your brain is telling you makes sense. And it's very hard for a lot of people to do. But that is something that I had to learn on early on because it's just, that's the way it is. You're going to keep losing if you think you know more than what the number that the sportsbook's giving you. If you think you know more than that and you don't have data that's backed on that and you don't have a right strategy that you have in place and you're just doing it off of just the top layer, like I said, pretty much just looking at a couple things and being like, yeah, this will work. Doing that is going to doom you and you're going to end up losing money. All right, but we are live today, and like I said, I'm going to go over with you guys how you can craft your sports betting strategy so that way you can start making money like right off the rip. So that way you guys understand exactly how it works. All right. In the comment section, if you guys got questions and stuff like that, I might be able to get to it. All right. I might be able to at the end of this, but you guys know how it rolls. I'll try my best to get to you guys as you're putting in questions and comments and stuff like that. But if you're in for the ride, grab a pen and a paper and pay attention because it's going to be important. All right. The stuff that you need to look at. First thing that we're going to look at is your base layer. All right. Your base layer, which is going to be your bankroll. All right, so I'm going to write down here your bankroll. So there's your bankroll. So I get this question, even basic stuff. All right, I get this question all the time, like what is the bankroll? What is your unit size and stuff like that. So bankroll is the money that you have set aside, so that way you know that's the money that you're going to use to bet on sports. Strictly, that's it. Unit size. Your unit size is the portion that you're cutting out from that bankroll to bet on each game. All right, so let's put down our unit size as well. All right, let's start with the most basic bankroll. All right, the most basic bankroll is $1,000 bankroll. All right, so let's start with $1,000. Now, your unit size on that. Here's the thing: not a lot of people even understand that having $1,000 set aside. They don't even understand that. They don't understand that they even need that type of money put aside. You know, you just go in your pocket and grab your change in your pocket, and you think you're going to make bets. That's not how this works. All right, if you want to take it serious, you want to craft a strategy, well, you need to start with your base layer. Your base layer is how much money you have to be able to do this. All right, that's plain and simple. All right, you need money to make money. That's what it is. All right, so your bankroll is $1,000. You want to stick. Now, this is going to shock a lot of people, all right, because when you have $1,000 set aside, most of these guys are betting a couple $100 a play. Now, the reason why you don't do that is because you're only going to last a small losing streak. All right, if you go on a small losing streak, you're going to be done pretty much. So you need to understand this. Your unit size should be between $10 and $30. All right? That might not look satisfying, right? That doesn't look satisfying. It's not pretty, right? You know, if I'm only betting $10 to $30, I'm not making too much money. But guess what? That is what it is. All right, guys, that it is what it is. If you have $1,000, all right? That's what you're betting. You're not betting a couple $100. All right? If you're betting 20% of your bankroll, if you have $100 or $1,000 bankroll and you're betting $200, guess what? You lose 5 games and you're done. You lose 5 games in a row and you're completely done. Realize that. All right? You should not be betting a couple $100 a game with a $1,000 bankroll. It's just not how it works. Not how it works. All right? But first, like I said, we want to get that correct right off the bat, as in your bankroll of what you need to look at. Now, if you want to have a couple $100 as a unit size, what do you need? What do you need to make that happen? Well, you need $10,000. Why is that? Because now if you're doing 1 to 3% of that, look, your unit size is 100 to 300. How many of you guys that are out there that watch my videos, that you guys go out and you bet on sports, and you guys are betting in this bracket, $100 to $300 a game, but you have nowhere near a $10,000 bankroll? A lot. All right, I can answer that. A lot. Because this is like the normal size that anybody usually wants to bet, is between that on any game. Doing that puts you in a hole. If you do not have this type of bankroll, you start losing, puts you in a hole. For example, like I said, if you had a $1,000 bankroll and you're betting this, you're going to be done in a couple of games. You go on a bad day, just an example, a bad day. If you bet 5 games on it and have a bad day and go 0-5, your bankroll's done, shattered. You have no bankroll anymore. All right? You got to understand that. Now, if you're betting $300 and you have a $1,000 bankroll, you lose 3 games, you're done. All right? So you cannot be doing that. I see videos all the time of these stupid ass people that put on these TikTokers and shit, and they're like, put 15% on this game, put 20% of your bankroll on this game. You can't do that. You can't do that, all right? Because you will not last. You won't last the ups and downs, the roller coaster rides. I've been through it. I've been through it for years. You will not last if you are continuously betting at this mark with not a bankroll like that, all right? Understand that. You need to understand that. And then, again, when you don't have a solid strategy in place, you're just willy-nilly throwing money, you know, just you're bound to hit losing streaks of 5, 6, 7 games in a row that you're going to lose. Now you will win, you know, a couple here in a row, here and there, you know, you will. But the thing is when you hit those losing streaks, they're going to tap you out. You're going to lose everything. All right? That is what happens. So, first step, the base layer of a strategy for sports betting. You need to understand the money management, and the money management correlates to what your bankroll is and what your unit size is. So if you do not have a $10,000 bankroll, you should not be betting $100 to $300. All right, just remember this. Whatever your bankroll is, it should be 1 to 3%. All right, 1 to 3%, except for one exception. There's one exception to this, and it's because you don't have any money. All right, so if you have a bankroll that is 500 or lower, then you got to bet 5%. You got to bet 5% there. Now, reason behind that is because you're not going to get anywhere betting 1 to 3% on $500 to a $100 bankroll. You're just not. All right? $100 bankroll, you'll be betting $1 a play. You're not going to get anywhere. All right? It's cool to paper trade. I mean, at that point, you might as well just be paper trading. Because if you're betting $1, $2, $3 a game, you're not getting anywhere. That's not even going to give you a substantial amount of money to eat lunch over a course of a whole entire month. All right? So you need to understand that. You need to realize that stuff. Get through your base layer first. Your base layer is your bankroll. Correlate that. Make sure you have the right unit size. All right? If you don't have the right unit size and you don't have it correlating with your bankroll, recipe for disaster. More likely, you are going to end up losing money. All right? Or you will lose everything. You'll lose your whole bankroll. Then you got to go and you got to put more money in. All right? You got to shell more money out. I know. Trust me, because I've been through this earlier on in my career. I did not understand this. I didn't. I was the guy that was with $1,000 betting a couple $100 a game. And then I would lose 2 or 3 games and half of my bankroll would be gone. And then I'm tilting. And then I just go bet $500 on a game and lose it. And then next thing you know, I lost everything in one day. It happens, guys. It happens to everybody out there that watches this stuff. All right, so first off, bankroll unit size. Get that right. Get it through your head that that's the base layer. All right, if you can't get through this, can't get through the base layer here of understanding that you need a bankroll to be able to make money, we can't even get on into the next steps. Can't even get on to the next steps. So remember that. Make sure you have your bankroll, your unit size, you have that correlated. All right, your unit size 1 to 3%, and also straight bets. Make sure you're doing straight bets. All right, we're not doing parlays. We're not doing 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs, 5 legs, 6 legs. We're not doing any of that stuff. All right, you're sticking straight. Straight bets. That's all they are. No matter what the odds are. All right, don't worry about the odds. We're not worried about that. That's not what we're worried about. We're worried about getting our bankroll right, learning that we need to just stick to straight bets. You learn that. This is your base. All right, this is the base right here. Base of starting a strategy. There is no strategy if you don't have this stuff. All right, so make sure you have your bankroll set, unit size set. Understand you're sticking to straight bets. All right, so once we got that clear, now we can get on to our next step here. All right, and like I said, you guys are commenting and stuff like that. I'll try my best to get to you guys as we're going through this stuff. But you got to bear with me because I'm trying to teach you guys something. I'm trying to show you guys exactly what it looks like to make the right strategy, to be able to be successful, to give yourself the best shot at being successful. All right, now let's talk about strategy-wise. What should you look at on a day-to-day basis? Got the money management down, right? We got that down. Now, what should we be looking at? There's all these games, college basketball, bunch of games. What are we looking at? Line movement. All right. All right, so line movement is first thing we're going to be paying attention to. All right, we need to look at line movement. Now, what is line movement? Line movement is when you are looking at odds. So let's say spreads, totals, money lines. Well, when that number opens, let's go for a spread for an example. Let's say 76ers open up at -4. Actually, let's say they open up at -6. All right, that's a spread. That's what you'll see. And then you'll see from there, let's say this is what it opened up at. Opened up 76ers -6. Now, later on in the day, news comes out. You know, all the players are playing. Joel Embiid's playing. Everybody's playing or whatnot. So people feeling good about the 76ers here. Now it's climbed up to -9 points. All right. This is line movement. All right. Line movement is when a number starts moving up. Now let's say, for example, a total. All right. Let's say the total on this game. Let's say it was 220. And then as it went throughout the day, it went to 224. That's line movement. All right, line movement is seeing exactly the numbers changing, the numbers moving, the spreads, the totals, the money lines, seeing that stuff move. That is exactly what it is that you need to pay attention to. All right, you need to pay attention to the line movement. So let me explain a little bit deeper on when we look at line movement, how you want to address it. So you always want to look at what the opening line is. All right. So the opening line is what the line is set at as soon as the day starts. All right. Sometimes the night prior they'll put opening lines out. So like I said, let's say the 76ers opening line was -6. All right. That's what it opened up at. Now, as we're going through the day, let's say there's an hour before game time. So say hour before tip. This number went to -9. So what does that mean? That means that it opened up at 6. Now it drove all the way up to 9. That means that there's money being bet on that side. It's driving that number up. All right, you want to see this happen. All right? Also, not just with the favorite, though. All right, not just with the favorite. Because, for example, if this happened, let's take a look here. Instead of it being -9, it goes to -3. Then if this happens, like opened up at -6, went down, 76ers went down to -3, now you want to take a look on the opposite side there. Pay attention to what happened there on the underdog side. All right, line movement works both ways. So you want to go through and you want to depict pretty much on a whole slate of games where this type of line movement is. All right, you want to see line movement. Now, what you don't want to see is opened at -6 and still an hour before the game is still at -6. That doesn't tell you anything. There's nothing there. You don't need to pay attention to games like that. Or even this. Open up -6 is now it's -6.5. Not enough line movement there. All right, there's not much line movement. There's nothing there. All right, so these games we don't pay attention to. All right, you don't waste your time diving further into those games. You don't. There's no reason to. All right, there's no reason to do that. You don't need to look deeper into a game that has no line movement. All right, because there's no story to go with that. Now, when there is a game, like I said, where there is line movement and, you know, moved up to -9 or whatnot, that's telling you a story. All right, it's telling you a story. Well, it opened up at -6. Now we're sitting at -9. Why did that happen? Now it's your job to go figure out exactly why that happened. All right, you need to go and understand this line moved this amount. Well, let me go see exactly why it moved that amount, because we got to see exactly what it is. It could be injuries. It could be somebody sitting out. There could be, you know, nothing for some. There could be no reason why that line moved, you know, besides maybe the sports book put out a soft line and people attacked it. All right, there could be various ways for the reason why that line moved, but it's your job to go and figure that out. All right, but again, base layer is your bankroll management, your unit size correlating with your bankroll. Now you're getting to the strategy. Go through a slate of games. Look at what the opening numbers are. Look at what they are an hour before the game. Circle the games that have the biggest line movements. All right, circle those. Now, what I do want to tell you guys, though, is when you are looking at line movement, this, when you see something like this, where it opened up at -6, now it's sitting at -9, that's what you want to see. So now, if everything lined up for you, you should be looking at the 76ers in this game. All right? You shouldn't be looking at the underdog. All right? So here's the thing. Let's say that they were playing the Lakers. Now, the Lakers line would be +6. This would be +9 now. All right, if it moved. So when a line moves like this, 76ers open at -6, now goes to -9. The bet that you never want to make here, this is the wrong way to read line movement, is looking at this and you end up betting here. That's not where you want to be looking. All right? You do not want to bet where the line movement went the opposite way. So if we look at the opposite here, you got the Lakers. They opened up at +6, went to +9. So they went up as the way you don't want it to go. So now if you're sitting there and you ended up betting Lakers +9 because you've seen this line, the plus, go from 6 to 9, you're on the wrong side there. All right? You're on the wrong side looking at the line movement. So for you to be over here and to be on the Lakers, you would want to see this. You would want to see this go to 3, this go to +3. That's for you to be on this side. This is what you'd want to be looking at. All right? For you to be on this side, it's going to be what I just showed you. All right? So understand that. Reading line movement correctly is very, very important, because you could set yourself up right in the beginning on the wrong side if you don't read it correctly. All right? You need to understand that I'm using NBA right now as an example, but this applies to any sport. All right? It doesn't just apply to the NBA. It applies to any sport. But when you are using your line movement, you need to understand of reading it correctly. All right? So if it goes up, you're looking at the favorite. Remember that. If it goes down, now you flipped. You're looking at this side. All right? Understand that and how important that line movement is. That right there can set yourself up for success right out the gate. All right? Right out the gate, that could set you up for success. Just having that down. All right? If you strictly, just straight up, had the right bankroll management, the right unit size, went through and looked at line movement and just purely played off a line movement, you're still going to win more than you lose doing this, what I was just showing you right now. All right? Plain and simple. Just that step. Another thing that you need to understand, the numbers that you're looking at and how important those numbers are. Basketball. These numbers are very important. All right? -6, -9 are completely different numbers there when it comes in basketball. All right? The end of a game, let's say the 76ers are up by 4 or 5 points with 30 seconds left. What's going to happen? Lakers are going to foul them, right? They're going to try to, get some free throws going or whatnot. Well, they're more likely to cover that -6 than for that -9 when the game is close at the end and they're occurring fouls. So understand that when you're betting certain type of sports, how important the number is that you're looking at. So many times where the line that it's at an hour before tip, you get burned. So I always suggest you buy it back. All right? Now the odds on this might be -150. All right? And this was -110. But guess what? Some instances, the person that bought this and went back down ends up winning, while this person ends up losing and got burned. Understand how important it is, because what you're doing when you buy back a number and you buy back to an opening number is you're essentially seeing into the market. You're seeing into the market. You got to see where the line movement is, where everything is situated, and then you're buying back that value. All right? You might not believe that you're buying back that value if you're paying -150, but you are, because like I said, sometimes this person will get burned while this person didn't. They paid a little bit extra, but guess what? I'd rather pay a little extra and win than to pay this number and then I end up losing. So every sport is different with that. All right? NBA, like I said, is important when you get on the spreads. These type of numbers on the spreads, -6, -5, -4, those type of numbers on the spreads, very important, because the last minute, if they're up, they can still, surpass that. If you're on the favorite, they can still surpass that number. All right? So you have to understand how important the numbers are even after, you looked at the line movement and stuff like that. Learn how to manipulate the lines. All right? You got to be able to manipulate. Go back to opening numbers. Make sure that, you understand how that works. All right? That doesn't work for the underdog. All right, so just because I showed you this here doesn't mean that if you're going to go bet the Lakers +9, well, now you're just going to go back to +6. You don't do that. All right, that only works on the opposite side if what I showed you guys here, if it moved down, -3 +3. So if it moved that way and now you're on the Lakers, now you're buying it back to this number here. All right, for the underdog side, now you're getting some more points back if you're looking at the underdog. All right, but this is very important. All right, very important. Key numbers, looking at numbers on how they work, line movement. This strategy that I'm showing you guys right here is a basic strategy, guys. Basic. This is like the most basic it can come. This is the first layer of following into, more in-depth stuff. All right, this is just the top layer for that. All right, make sure you understand how important the line movement is. You shouldn't even be looking at anything else but this to start. All right, there's nothing else to look at besides the line movement. All right, because that's going to tell you the story to start out. Once you've depicted those games and you circle those games on your calendar and you're looking further into those games, you've already surpassed what a lot of people are not even doing, where they're just going to go and look at the game that's on TV and they're going to just guess and pretty much try to bet on something stupid like that. All right, but listen to what I told you about how the line moves, how important it is to buy back these certain numbers, because it will save you. It will. Trust me. I see it every single day, to where people that didn't buy back to the opening number, they end up losing. People that didn't buy back, they end up losing. And the people that did buy back, they end up winning. Happens every single day. All right? The NFL, very important in the NFL, looking and buying back to key numbers, being on -7, -6.5, -5.5, NFL, stuff like that. Very, very important. People don't even realize that. All right? I can spot an amateur bettor like that when they go and tell me that they went and bet the Chiefs -7.5. It's the stupidest number I could ever think of betting in the NFL. -7.5. No reason for that. All right? You might as well go bet 9.5. You're going to bet -7.5. It's the same exact thing. So understand how important numbers are, not just in the NBA, but in the NFL, college basketball, all that stuff, guys. It's important everywhere. Baseball, it's important in all of it. So just understand how important that stuff actually is. All right? Again, let's go through one more time here, just the basics of what I was just teaching you. The basics. Bankroll. Make sure you have a bankroll. If you don't have a bankroll, you shouldn't even be watching this video. You shouldn't even be in here right now if you don't have a bankroll. Just being honest, all right? Some people might think I sound like a dick, but to be honest with you, if you don't have money, you're not going to make money. It takes money to make money, plain and simple. Have the bankroll, have the unit size, 1 to 3% of that bankroll that you have set up. Understand how important that really is, all right? Once you have that set up, understand that you're just betting straight bets. We're not doing 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs. I don't care what the odds are. We're not doing them. We're not doing them at all, all right? And then, first thing you're looking at, line movement. Understand what the opening number, how important it is to about an hour before the game is going to go. How important that is to look at and to pay attention to. Once you've found those games, understand how important it is to buy back to the original number. So that way you can understand exactly how important that is to get those numbers and get those points back. Because sometimes, because you just want this -110 here, you're going to go for that and you end up losing. All right, remember that. You would rather pay a little extra and get a win rather than pay what everybody else is paying for and take a loss. Understand that. And another thing I want to add to this and buying back numbers and all that. For everybody out there that says sports are rigged, oh, they know what the number is. They know exactly. Well, listen, they cannot rig every single number on a board. They just can't. That's not going to happen. All they can rig, if they really came down to it and it really mattered, is the final number. The final number that was given to everybody. That's the only number that they can really look at. I'll be honest with you. So when you're manipulating the lines yourself, you don't even have to worry about that stuff if you really think that sports are rigged, or, if that. Usually people that think sports are rigged are just people that lose all the time. That's just they're always on the wrong side. All right? When you're on the winning side, you don't always think they're rigged. I'll just be honest with you. But very important. Like I said, line movement, very important. So this is going to be kind of a part 1, all right, live, of how you're going to depict and go through your sports betting strategy and how to build that, all right? Just understand, I'm going to go through it slowly with you guys because this is pretty much step 1 of how you go through stuff, All right, this is your base layer. Understand how important it is to have a base layer. Because if I overwhelm you guys with everything right now, you'll be jumbled up all over the place. So we're not going to do that. All right, your base layer is your line movement. Understand how important the opening number is to compared to what it ends up closing at. And understand that your bankroll, none of this happens if you don't have a bankroll. All right, if you don't have a bankroll, none of this stuff happens. If you have pocket change, none of this stuff happens. All right, so understand how important it is to have money, to be able to make money, especially in this game. All right, I'm going to try to get to some questions here. I see a lot of comments through here, but if you guys got questions, now it's time. Let's try to get to it. All right, I got a couple minutes left here. Chrissy says, Frank, are you going to do a live stream on Saturday for UFC? Yes, I will. Saturday, UFC 299. Make sure everybody tunes in for that stuff. All right, let's see what else here. Thanks for the free picks. Turning 21 this weekend. Happy birthday, Steelers for life. Happy birthday. How much of a bankroll should I be betting a day? So 1 to 3%. Yeah, 1 to 3% is what you should be betting per day of your bankroll. That's your unit size. As for bets, it's whatever goes through the criteria that you're looking at. All right, it's whatever goes through that. There's never like a really solid, I should only do 1 bet. I should only do 3. I should only do 5. It's really whatever comes out to it. But when you are really actually looking in depth and going through a slate of games, there's really only like 1 to 3 games sometimes. If that. Sometimes there's only 1. All right? There really is. Like when you really go through in depth and look at certain games, you really only have an edge. Even there's like 100 games on a slate, maybe 1 or 2 have an actual edge in there. All right? Let's see. What else we got here? Does it matter if it's 1% or 3%? Or is there a number of units I should be betting daily? So on the 1% to 3%, you need to stick to one or the other. All right. So if you're going to do 1%, 2%, or 3%, you have to stick with that for a whole entire month. You can't jockey your unit size and do one day you're doing 1%, next day you're doing 3%, next day you're doing 2%. Can't do that. All right. We can't do that. The reason why you can't do that is because you could win the 1% bet and then you lose the 3% bet. Now you're down 2 units, or now you're down, even more. You can't do that. You can't jockey your unit size. All right. So stick to 1 and ride that out for the whole entire month. All right, my biggest problem is I can't tell if a strategy is winning or losing. Like, how do we backtest these strategies? So the best way to backtest a strategy is to log it. You have to log it, all right? And it takes seasons to be able to understand this stuff. A lot of people come to me after a week or 2 and they figured something out and they think they found a winning strategy. That's not how that works, all right? You need to understand that if you won the whole entire season, throughout the whole entire season, your strategy worked, now you might be onto something. But anything could happen for 1 to 2 weeks. I can flip a coin and probably win for 1 to 2 weeks. But as for a whole season, that's not going to work. So you got to understand, to be able to backtest stuff, you have to log stuff. And that takes time. A lot of people are not willing to put in that time to understand that. That's how I was able to come up with all the strategies that I was able to, profit from month in and month out, is by being backtested of years. All right, that's years, guys. Years of looking at stuff. And I constantly have stuff on the burner that is going through all my strategies, but it takes years for them to prove that they can actually be profitable. All right? You have to understand that it takes time. This game is not a short game. You're not going to figure it out overnight. It takes time. You got to dedicate some time. All right? You got to understand how important that is. Scott, you said thanks for sharing. Appreciate you for watching. Let's see. The money management I have down, and I've used $25 per unit for $1,000 on football. I started out with $250, then built it to $1,000. Now I just need some strategies for MLB, NHL, NBA, and college basketball. Very solid. Very solid to hear there. You used 2.5% on that $1,000 bankroll. That was perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing. And you did it. Look what happened. You built it from what? $250. Now you're all the way up to $1,000. So perfect. All right. Let's see. Anything else here? That seems like it, guys. Seems like it. All right, wait. We got a couple more. Can you explain one more time if line moves up, which side to be on? Okay, so again, opening number. Let's say it's -6. 76ers goes to -3. Now we're looking on the underdog side. This number goes to -9. Now you're looking at the favorite. Goes up, looking at the favorite. Goes down, looking at the underdog. Simplest way to put it there. Goes up, favorite, down, underdog. Remember that. Where do you track line movement? There is a lot of places to be able to track line movement. All right, you just got to look. Just go and type in sportsbook odds, and you'll see a bunch of stuff like that. Let's see what else. What are your thoughts on spreadsheet models for sports betting? I'm fine with all type of models, but like I said, you got to take your time to go through it. All right, it's got to be back tested, and it takes seasons, it takes years to do that stuff. But as long as you stay at it and you don't miss days or nothing like that, and you log the right information in, you'll see what happens with it. How often do you adjust your unit size? Unit size usually monthly. Yeah, correct for what you said there. Monthly is the best. Monthly is the best way to look at that. All right. Let's see. What advice do you have on NBA player props? I got like a couple other YouTube videos on player props. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely go check that stuff out. Let's see. Frank, what are your thoughts on the spreadsheet models? Yep, I got that one. All right. Is there any correlation between using promos and getting limited? No. I mean, getting limited, this happens when you're betting a heavy unit size and you're consistently winning. To avoid that, you spread that unit size out amongst multiple sports books. If you're in a state where you have plenty of sports books, you shouldn't have any problem doing that, and then you shouldn't end up getting limited. So that's the way to kind of offset that. All right, but having bonuses and stuff, that doesn't really affect any of that. All right, KZ says, thank you. Appreciate it. Love the streams. Appreciate you watching. Let's see. How many bets would you place a day? Again, that really is, there's not really a number on that. All right. Like your average, I would say sometimes you can put an average out there of don't do more than 5. I say that in other videos, like don't do more than 5. But sometimes when you're doing real research and looking in depth, you're not going to find even 5 plays. So 1, 3, you usually want to have an odd number of plays. So like 1 or 3 or 5, because if you do 2 plays and you win 1, lose 1, you're most likely going to lose a little bit of money. So I always say keep it in the odd range of number of plays. All right. Let's see. You'd want to find plus 6.5 and minus 5.5. You're looking for a 6-point win. That's addressing somebody else's question that they said there. All right. Steven, you've been a member for a few months. Yep, Steven Lyle. I did see you in there, but I appreciate you, Steven. You've been a member for a minute, and we appreciate you being a part of the program, the coaching, and everything like that. Shout out. All right, shout out, Steven. But that is pretty much it for today, guys. Like I said, this is the step 1 base layer of what I just taught you on how you can start crafting a sports betting model, how you can start looking at your strategies. It starts with the basics. And what I just taught you is the basics. All right, but other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see y'all later.